Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. You swallow what's in your mouth yet? Swallow what's in your mouth. Right now. Right now. Right now.
Met de riem wordt gedreigd, niet geslagen.
Come on, Gabrielle. Come on, right now. Swallow it up. Would you like me to spank you? You see the bell? Then swallow what's in your mouth.
The parent-child relationship is stored in our memory systems from far earlier than we remember, than the verbal memories we have. And in many ways, from what we know of the attachment systems, much of the really important stuff goes on in the first year and a half. And that storage is at the automatic level. And what we do, we now know that what we tend to do as parents is repeat the behavioral patterns that we stored at that level.
You want me to slap you again? Swallow what's in your mouth. Swallow it up right now.
Onderzoekers proberen dit gedrag van generatie op generatie te volgen. Psychiater Diane Benoit vroeg 100 vrouwen naar hun gevoelens over hun moeder en hun ongeboren baby's.
We found that from grandmother to mother to infant, there was in fact across these 3 generations a 65% rate of straight transmission.
Na de bevalling ondervroeg ze de vrouwen opnieuw.
We used this adult attachment interview, this measure of attachment, during the pregnancy. And based on the parents, the moms in that case, the moms' answers to those questions, we could predict how the baby would relate to that parent. And we were right in that particular study just about 80% of the time.
Gabrielle als baby.
Was never a happy baby. Cried, clingy, would go to no one, not her dad, not her grandma, not her cousins, no one.
Come on, sweetie.
Als peuter zet Gabrielle die lijn voort.
Swallow that one and you tell me what your brother name is, okay?
Her relationship with her mother was, as a child, more negative, manifestly, than the present mother-child relationship. But I would say that it was also an anxious attachment.
What color is it? But you have to swallow first so you can tell me.
Victoria Brigden probeert mama's aandacht te trekken. Ze zijn op weg naar het Hinks Instituut. Bij een taaltest hoort Marceline dat elk signaal van haar dochter langs haar heen gaat. Victoria blijkt heel wel bespraakt voor haar leeftijd.
Ever since we've had that language assessment, though, I can't believe. Like, I went in there thinking she can only say 10 words, because Melanie said to me, well, how many words do you think she can say? And I said, 10, 15 words. Yes. And I was shocked when I got out of there. Like, for example, if I'm in the car and I'm driving along, I would just be sitting there driving along, because she's a baby, she doesn't really know what's going on. But now, for example, I'd say, oh, look, there's a cat, or look at that truck. And she'll say truck, and she'll say dog, and, she's looking out the window now. She was doing that all the way along, but I never really paid much attention to it.
Doggy.
A doggy?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
Long before children learn to talk, they're able to speak through play. That's how they discover the world, how they learn about themselves. It's how their parents find out about them. And if there's a problem, like an inability to sleep or a refusal to eat, the solution can often be found in play, if you're watching.
Elk stuk speelgoed heeft een betekenis. Neem bijvoorbeeld de dieren.
Children use them a lot to express their feelings, their loving feelings. They play with the tame animals, and the wild animals, of course, expressing anger, rage, aggression, hostility. The doctor's kit is used by children to express their feelings about being seen in a clinic and the sense that something might be wrong. They can play this out by using the stethoscope and other pieces of medical equipment to communicate their worries and their fears about it. The dolls are used a lot. They represent the child themselves. Children use them to play out the problems that they're having in the family, sleeping problems, and also to play out themes relating to feeding and nurturance.
Marceline en Victoria beginnen vandaag met een serieus spel. 8 weken lang participerende observatie. Liz Muir herinnert Marceline nog even aan de regels.
Okay, do you remember the instructions?
Right, just sit on the floor and keep eye contact with her.
Follow the lead at all times. No take over or initiate any activity. Let her always be the initiator.
Okay, I remember.
De kamer ligt vol speelgoed, maar Victoria loopt meteen naar de pop en legt die in bed. Volgens haar moeder speelt ze nooit met poppen. Maar vandaag nemen ze haar volledig in beslag.
The other thing she was doing with the dolls was she was feeding the dolls with the baby bottles. And Marceline was saying in the session that she's having a struggle at the moment, not only around the feeding at the table, but that she is wanting to help Victoria give up the bottle. So the battle around the bottle is very important. So a lot of the play was she fed herself a little bit quickly and furtively, but then she fed the baby. So there are two preoccupations of Marceline's and Nell's right in there in the play.
I was really amazed by this. I think it is exactly.
Victoria laat haar moeder spelenderwijs zien hoe zwaar het leven kan zijn voor iemand van 1,5.
This, stethoscope on, and she would be, banging it on me and hitting me with it as hard as she could. Liz said to me, "What do you notice about this session, this one day?" And I said, "Well, she seems very aggressive with this doctor's kit," and she was trying to hit me with it, and I was kind of saying, "No, don't do this." She said, "Well, how did it make you feel?" And I said, "Well, scared that she was going to hit me," and she said, "Well, maybe that's the way she's feeling towards the doctor."
Marceline keek inderdaad op van deze sessies. Nu begreep ze haar dochters gedrag bij de dokter.
Just goes crazy, like crying, and if he comes in, well, she's just nuts. Like he has to lean on her to hold her down, like to look at her.
Does he? Does he?
Because she'll be kicking him and hitting him, and and he hasn't done anything to her. Like he's trying to listen to her heart.
2 weken later is dokter Victoria een stuk vriendelijker. Ze is die week zelf bij de dokter geweest en Marceline heeft erg haar best gedaan om haar op haar gemak te stellen.
She was upset, but she calmed down very quickly. It'll be interesting over the next couple of weeks to see what else, comes out. Yeah, from just watching her play.
Het spelen van Gabrielle Malcolm spreekt boekdelen. Zelf wil ze niet eten, maar de poppen moeten wel eten.
Oh, feed her? Oh, okay.
And feed her.
But I think a question. If she can feed her own baby and do everything, I think if she could reflect on what she's doing now, if she could just feed like that, if she could eat.
Het maaltijdritueel heeft zijn weerslag op het hele gezin. Daarom zijn ze er soms alle 4 bij.
Really good question. If she could just reflect on that. But I think she's probably, that's the whole point. She's a bit young to be able to reflect. Yeah. But what little kids do is they play instead of reflecting.
Dit spelletje spelen Gabrielle en haar moeder elke maaltijd. Nu ziet Dr. Muir wat Novelet's sterke kanten als moeder zijn.
Novelette is an enormously imaginative and talented mother in terms of her capacity to introduce fantasy, games, play, and to teach her child.
For breakfast? Yeah.
No.
Maar ook haar zwakke kanten komen naar voren.
Baby mommy.
Feed my own baby? Yeah. What are you feeding your baby?
Spaghetti.
Some spaghetti? Oh, yum, yum. I'm going to give my baby some porridge just like remember I gave her some porridge this morning. Kind of mix it up. And I just blow on it to cool it. And I just give it to her. Oh, boy, she's loving it. Look at that. She opens up her eyes. She's smiling. She just loves the porridge.
And is this the spaghetti or is this the porridge?
Which one is that? Spaghetti or porridge? Oh,
It's
this
the
is the
porridge.
porridge. Okay.
What was very noticeable was that from right in the very first session was that Novelette could not help dictating the terms, correcting the child.
We have a fight every morning.
About everything?
About, not everything, the outfit,
when she
fashion.
doesn't get to select the dresses or clothing to wear to daycare.
Exactly.
That day, it tends to be that.
Jogging.
So you fight about food, you fight about sleep, you fight about clothes.
Which basically covers it, don't you think? Well, then we'd say we fight about everything because she has a definite mind of her own and she lets you know what she thinks. Every child's favorite word is no, but she has no with an explanation.
Catherine Hollett is sceptisch over hun eerste sessie participerende observatie.
Oh, we were kind of wondering whether this was going to work at all. We were really expecting her to say, well, I've looked at all the evidence and the test results, and I know that Callum is like this, and because he's like this, we can use this to make him better. And we didn't get that, so we kind of thought, oh, this might be a real waste of time. And we've started to have these horrible thoughts about what we're going to do if this doesn't work. I was about to say when this doesn't work, but if this doesn't work, I don't know where we go next with this.
Bij zijn eerste bezoeken aan het instituut komt Callum helemaal niet aan spelen toe. Hij valt steeds om. Dit is een van de eerste observaties die Liz Muir noteert. Het eerste verband tussen spel en probleem.
How much does his lack of relaxation in the play and maybe in bed at night have to do with the lack of relaxation in the relationship?
Als hij even tot rust kwam, werd er toch wel iets zichtbaar.
Fairly early on in the piece, there was just a fleeting moment he had his back to the camera and to his mother, and he'd picked up the little baby's bottle and he put it in his mouth and he kind of looked as if he felt he shouldn't be doing this and then put it down again immediately. And I thought it was just the whole way that he did this that I felt it really was very important. And the thought crossed my mind, there's something here to do with an expression of a particular kind of infantile need or a baby need, something to do with nurturance and around bottles and being fed and things like that. And then he seemed to ignore it, and then I thought, well, maybe I was just imagining it. And then a little bit later he came back to it and he wanted to feed himself, he wanted to feed his mother, and he was feeding the doll. So we started to elaborate that a little. And right at the very end of the session, Catherine said something really very important. It's something that's concerning her, and it relates to a lot of the other things she was discussing in the session, which had to do with her feelings about having to attend to two babies, not one.
Sometimes I kind of feel bad, like I nursed Tristan till he was 9 months old. And I only nursed him till 4 months because I couldn't keep Tristan's schedule of all of Tristan's events and things that he does and nurse at the same time because he'd want to nurse and I'd be behind the wheel of a car taking Tristan somewhere.
Thank you very much for your patience. Tristan, thank you. Let's bring Samantha out, please.
Tristan is acteur. Hij speelt hier de rol die elke moeder graag ziet. Het ideale kind. Catherine beseft inmiddels door de therapie dat ze Callum dezelfde rol opdringt als zijn broer.
if I get an apple box, there's underneath there's a mark.
I started to think that I don't know if I've ever let Callum be Callum. I think Callum was born to be Tristan.
Er blijkt nog iets uit Callum's spel. Hij voelt zich aangetrokken tot de gevaarlijke dieren. Bij de andere kinderen is dat in het begin net zo.
Oh, scary. Ow. Oh.
Aanhangers van de hechtingstheorie zien dit als uiting van agressie, die zou voortkomen uit de frustratie over een onstabiele relatie. Bij zo'n 40% van de kinderen in Noord-Amerika is sprake van onveilige hechting aan hun ouders. Volgens Alan Sroufe is er een duidelijk verband met agressie.
Kids who are aggressive as preschoolers, that's a pretty good prediction of being aggressive later. And in early elementary school, and it gets to be even a stronger prediction. Aggression is a very stable characteristic once it's in place.
Agressie houdt Marceline erg bezig.
We don't want her to be too aggressive though either, because then I think she'll have trouble socializing with other children, you know, if she's, you know, pushing and you know, she's not hitting, she, you know, but maybe it'll lead to that, I don't know. You know, when she gets older, you know.
Right.
Marceline wil geen agressief, maar wel een assertief kind.
So I'm hoping that maybe if we can help her now, maybe she will be a little bit more outgoing. Because I consider myself fairly shy. I'm not a outgoing personality, and I can see that how that's kind of held me back on a lot of things. If I had a little bit more of an outgoing personality, I would have maybe done a few more things.
Children who have histories of secure attachment, children who have experienced reliable, responsive care, are rated as dramatically higher on self-esteem by the time they're in preschool than children who have histories of anxious attachment. This data is very strong data in our study, and it holds up not only in preschool, but in elementary school and on into the teenage years.
What's in your mouth? What is this in your mouth? What do you have? Let me see it, please.
Na 2 weken therapie is er bij de Malcolms nog weinig verbetering.
Did you want me to warm it up?
Ze zijn al een uur aan het eten. Het eten is al een keer opgewarmd. De magnetron piept met de regelmaat van de klok. Het is bedtijd.
You are going to your bed hungry.
Het bord is niet leeg. De camera gaat uit.
Very, very hungry. I can't believe it.
Just get some pizza. Give it to her.
Op het instituut gaat het ook niet erg vooruit.
Get some pizza.
I think Gabrielle wishes that it went just as nicely as this when she and Mummy are having their meal. Do you think she wishes that?
My baby.
Pardon?
I'm gonna cover up my baby.
You're gonna cover up?
Perhaps we could spend just a very few minutes now just talking about the session and how it's...
Oh boy, she said she's taking a rest.
We're not going to get too much of a chance to talk about the session, are we?
There we go. Oops. Okay, you play with the ball while I can talk to doctor now, okay? It's time for us to go almost though. We're finished.
Yes, we do actually have to finish now.
I can't take it out.
Okay, wait.
We'll leave it at that for today.
All right.
And next week,
We'll.
at this time, it'll be a family meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we needed to get one more in. Did you want to do
Wondered
it Thursday and
whether
Friday?
she really wanted to examine her own behavior in this and its impact on her daughter, and furthermore, whether she was at all interested in looking at the roots of her own behavior in her past experience.
If I found that I was a part of the problem, I'd be very hard on myself. I would be upset at myself because I've already questioned myself. I've said to myself, Did I start too late in introducing her? Was I persistent enough when she was younger?
But is it about food?
I don't know.
Een slechte dag voor de familie Hollett. En het wordt er niet beter op. Vanwege dit soort spanningen heeft men hulp gezocht.
This is bad. You're a bad baby. Just stop. For Christ's sake, go to fucking sleep.
Veel zorgen voor papa.
I could feel that the relationship between the two of them was deteriorating. And I was really concerned about where it was going to go. Catherine and I had words about it. I knew she was getting near the end of her patience.
In de tweede week komt bij Catherine het hele verhaal eruit.
At this point, you can't take your eyes off him.
No, I mean, in fact, we had such a bad day yesterday. I know this sounds so horrible, but I left my kids in the house and I got in my car and I thought I was going to leave.
Really?
I mean, he'd spent the whole day screaming. He hadn't napped. And I just reached a point where I said, well, I'm going to put you in your room and I don't care if you scream. I have to have 10 minutes to sit down and not watch you and not listen to you. And I could just hear him screaming and screaming and screaming. And I just went out and I sat in the car and I sat there and I really thought about just driving away. And then it was so horrible because when I came in, Tristan's sitting on the floor crying, going, where did you go, Mommy? And it made me feel even worse. And then that makes me mad at him because Tristan had to suffer because I just